What would you do if a billionaire lost everything overnight, not because of a stock crash, not because of bad investments, but because of a faceless cyberattack that drained $2.9 billion in less than 6 hours? This is not just a story. Is a ride into betrayal secrets and the most unexpected hero, the janitor's daughter. And before we begin, if you love stories that twist and grip your heart, hit subscribe right now, because what you are about to hear will keep you on edge until the very last word. Once upon a time in the towering skyline of New York City, where glass towers kissed the clouds and money moved faster than human breath, there lived a billionaire named Richard Halden, a man whose empire spanned from Silicon Valley startups to European energy firms whose face often graced the covers of Forbes and whose private jet was known as the Flying Palace. Yet even with all his power and wealth, there was something hollow in Richard's life, a loneliness carved deep by years of ruthless business choices that had earned him both admiration and enemies. But on one stormy Monday morning, when thunder rolled across Manhattan and the servers of his global conglomerate whirred with activity, Richard's world was about to collapse without warning. An alert appeared on his phone, an emergency breach notification from his cyber division, then another, then 10 more flashing red like blood dripping from a wound within minutes. Billions began to vanish, siphoned. From accounts in Zurich, Dubai, and Hong Kong, his screens filled with lines of encrypted demands from faceless hackers calling themselves the Veil. They had found a back door, a single unnoticed weakness, and through it they swallowed his fortune, like sharks devouring prey too, $9 billion gone before sunrise. The weight of it smashed into Richard's chest harder than any heart attack. His empire trembled. Stockholders called investors, panicked, employees whispered, and for the first time, Richard, the untouchable titan, felt small, desperate, and weak. He summoned his boardroom the brightest suits and minds money could buy. Yet none could explain how such a thing happened. None could trace the phantom code that slithered through firewalls like smoke. Despair tightened its grip. But while executives argued, while advisors shouted, while lawyers warned of collapse, a quiet figure stood unnoticed in the corner of his skyscraper, the janitor, Mr. Alvarez, a gray-haired immigrant who had swept these marble floors for 20 years. His hands calloused, his back bent, but his eyes sharp beside him was his daughter Isabella, a college student who had come to help her father during late-night shifts. She carried books in one hand, mop in the other, and dreams bigger than the stars. What no one knew was that Isabella had been studying cybersecurity, not from elite professors, not from costly academies, but from free lectures, open-source codes, late-night hacking forums where anonymous teachers revealed secrets to anyone. Curious enough, she had no degree, no credentials, but her mind was hungry and her instinct razor-sharp as Richard's empire spiraled. Isabella noticed something odd on one of the giant digital screens left glowing in the empty lobby, a repeating string hidden in the hacker's code like a faint heartbeat. She asked politely if she could take a closer look. Executives scoffed, laughed at the janitor's daughter, but Richard, broken and cornered, whispered, "Let her try." So she sat cross-legged on the cold marble floor, laptop open, fingers dancing across keys like a pianist discovering forbidden music. What she saw froze her veins. The Veil were not strangers, they were insiders, ex-employees with grudges, and one current executive feeding them access. The betrayal came from within. She traced signals to hidden servers not in Russia or China, as the experts claimed, but across the river in New Jersey, rented by shell companies secretly tied to Richard's own chief technology officer, the very man sitting smug at the boardroom table when Isabella revealed it. The room erupted, denials, threats, rage, but Richard silenced all with a single look. His empire was not stolen by ghosts. It was stolen by trust, misplaced, and now vengeance, burned hotter than fear. Isabella worked nights unraveling the web of deceit, piecing stolen money trails like breadcrumbs leading to offshore vaults and abandoned factories, every discovery more shocking than the last fake charity shell corporations, even secret payments to politicians all orchestrated under Richard's nose. Yet, as she dug deeper, she uncovered something darker than theft. The Veil were planning a second strike, not just on Richard but on the national grid, a blackout across major cities that could cripple millions. Richard realized he was no longer fighting for his fortune, but for the country itself. His hands shook, but Isabella calm, like the eye of a storm devised a counterstrike, a digital trap woven with deceptive data to lure the hackers into exposing themselves. The night of reckoning came. Lightning flashing outside, servers humming inside. Isabella unleashed her code, the building silent except for the tapping of her keys and the thunder of her heart the EUC. Veil struck back flooding screens with venomous code, but step by step, Isabella anticipated them redirecting their own weapons against them until suddenly faces once hidden appeared, names, addresses, bank accounts, everything stripped bare. The traitor. CTO arrested live in the boardroom, dragged out in handcuffs, the stolen billions traced and frozen before they vanished forever. The nation spared from darkness and Richard spared from ruin. But the story did not end with victory because, as Isabella revealed final logs, she found one last twist, a message buried deep, not from enemies, but from Richard's past, from a brother he had betrayed decades ago, a brother thought dead, who had orchestrated part of the attack not for money, but revenge. The revelation shattered Richard more than the theft ever could as the truth spilled. He fell to his knees realizing that his empire had been built on bones of betrayal and greed. But Isabella placed a hand on his shoulder telling him sometimes, collapse is not the end, but the start of building something true. Richard offered her a place not just in his company, but at his side as partner visionary and heir, not because she saved his billions, but because she saved his soul, and as the sun rose over New York City gilding the skyscrapers in gold, a billionaire who had lost almost everything, and a janitor's daughter who had nothing stood together at the edge of a new beginning. A story that began with despair, ended with redemption, proving that the smallest voice in the quietest corner can change the fate of empires. And as you're listening to this tale of betrayal and hope, you must remember that in every shadowed room, in every desperate moment, there might be an Isabella waiting to reveal the truth. So if you crave more stories like this, stories of power twisted into weakness and ordinary people rising into legends, make sure you subscribe now, because the next story may just change the way you see the world forever.